meeting of MSRAC at 9:03. Well, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, but since we have a new member, I guess we should make introductions first and welcome Ryan Cornoyer. Is that proper? He's going to be a new alternate member of the commission. So now we're full. We have 7 members and 2 alternates. This is Norma O'Leary.
Morning.
I don't know if everybody can. Steve Lewis.
Charlene Langley. Oh, sorry. Renee Waldron.
And on Zoom, is who's joining us?
Bernie's on Zoom.
Yeah, Bernie's up there.
Yeah.
And Bernie Davis is on Zoom. So welcome to the MSRAC committee.
So that's
Hey there.
missing then is Joanne.
Okay. And so now I guess we'll move on to approval of the minutes of the October 14th, 2022 regular meeting. You have one.
I'll second.
Okay, comments? Go ahead.
Just that I was missing from it because I was on Zoom for the last
If you
meeting.
can add,
That to the attendance, so.
yes,
Oh, I didn't even include you in the minute. Okay.
yes. So members attending should also
just
include
include
Ken Bozway. Anybody have any other suggested corrections to the minutes? Okay, so all in favor of approving the minutes with that correction, say aye.
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 Okay, then we'll move on to item 3, correspondence.
No correspondence that isn't directly related to another agenda.
Okay,
Nothing.
thank you. Item 4, citizen comments. Don't see any other citizens. There aren't any citizens on Zoom.
No, just Kevin from Freeman.
Okay. Then we will go up, then we're on to number 5, committee business, Riverside Drive, lots of sidewalk project. Number 1, construction update. And we have Kevin from Freeman Associates, who's been the project construction inspector. To give us an update.
Yeah, so as you guys, I'm not sure if you've walked the project yet. I know we have a semi-final walkthrough on the 17th next Thursday, but everything's looking nearly complete. I know Jessica, I wasn't there yesterday, but Jessica told me she was knocking off some of the punch list items, so some of the smaller details that needed to be just polished off and finished. So there's I'll be checking on that on Monday when I go up next to supervise some of the the crosswalk laying. So that's, I believe, Monday through Wednesday, and then Thursday will be our walkthrough. So it seems like I've been seeing a lot of folks, walking up and down the sidewalk. So that's a good sign that folks are using what we're laying down. So I'm happy that Thompson townspeople are getting use out of the project. The mill grill looks absolutely beautiful. I love the way it came out. Unfortunately for the DOT kind of messing with the plans there a little bit. We have that little bit of a bump in with the asphalt. So I'm sure some sort of plan will come to that eventually, but yeah, but I'm not sure if you guys have any questions. I can answer those as well.
I'm just curious what was on the punch list, Kevin.
Some mulch, extra mulch in certain places where the curbs were done, they need to be and topsoil. So there's little gaps around where the curbing was laid, so they had to fill that in. They were doing on Tuesday, they were putting in the signage, the new signage. But I'm not exactly sure what else was exactly on the punch list items. So I could reach out to Jessica and Armand if you need a list of anything, but those are the things that
I was just curious, Kevin.
yeah, those are the things that came to mind when I was there last, that when me and Jessica were talking that, oh, these couple of details need to be, finished. So again, I'll be checking that on Monday when I'm down there supervising the crosswalk work.
Okay. So did you say a final inspection site walk is going to take place Tuesday?
Thursday.
Oh,
Thursday, I believe that Thursday, yes, the 17th, so a week from today. I think Yang sent out a email invitation. I'm not sure who was involved in that one. So I think that's for 9 a.m. on Thursday. And I think that's technically like the semifinal. I'm sure we'll have a final run through after that.
It's 10 or 11. It's not quite as early.
Oh, sorry.
It did send out an invite that I replied to yesterday. I don't happen to remember who else was included, but I'm
Yes.
sure.
Yes, you're right. Now that I remember, it's 10 or 11, 10 to 11. So.
Yeah, I didn't see it. And does the state typically come to that? Or is it just between you and the contractor and the town?
I don't believe the state is coming, especially, I don't think this is the final walkthrough. I'm not sure if the state's gonna be involved in the final walkthrough, but I know this isn't the final walkthrough, so I can get back to you on that one. I'm not sure.
And Yang raised it in his email when he was trying to set it up. It's not the final. It's the walkthrough to say that it's substantially complete, so they can stop the clock on the contract. So that they won't be penalized for having to come back in April for the bus shelter.
Yep.
Does any committee members have any questions for Kevin?
No comment. Somebody who is going up Rawson Ave from 12 from the mill. What a nice change, a nice improvement to make that turn into that. I know everywhere you go, you hear the people complaining, but I don't know. I think that
No, the intersection looks great.
it looks great, and I think it's more functional than it was.
Well, people complain because it's a change. The whole thing.
They'll hate it to love it.
No,
Till they do.
Yeah.
they'll get used to it like
Yeah.
anything else. The only concern that I have with that is with that 4-spot parking lot where the rocks, with the boulders that we removed and everything there. It's coming down Rawson Ave. It almost looks like as you're coming down, you want to drive into that parking area.
What about a white line on the edge of the road showing the curve?
You're gonna
Yeah,
put
I believe there should be some striping there,
but there should be a couple of arrows there showing that this corner makes the turn, because we're gonna get people that are gonna drive right into
into
that
it.
parking area.
There's an island
Okay.
still.
Well-
to go in there.
Okay. I'm just, when I observe coming down, 'cause it looks great.
Is the
Raised.
I know that there's going to be a raised island in the middle of that curb, and I have a copy of the plan out, Kevin,
okay,
of that
yeah.
intersection, and I can see the stop bar, I can see the double yellow line, so that'll help. But
When you're
this,
coming down this way.
right, when you're coming down Ross, and looks like there's supposed to be a section of curb that juts out. Is that in yet?
I thought I saw a curbing there.
I do believe there is a peninsula on the northern side of the parking lot. I'm not exactly sure what you guys are talking about. Let me check my photos. I have some photos I can look and see if they.
Talking about when you were traveling down Rawson Avenue, that it looks
Yeah,
like you should drive into the parking spaces instead of
Around it. like
instead of
go
around it.
Because it's so dark there. I mean, we do have,
It's
we
like-
do have a
Right.
traffic, a street light there that we put in 4 or 5 years ago. Like
Does
that
that evolve?
intersection. Yeah, no, it was one of the LEDs when we did the changeover. But it's just as you come down and, we get those yellow arrows, turn, and something like that maybe.
Yeah, just like some traffic flow arrows you're talking about, like just to maintain. I know there's going to be a inlaid plastic, that median part that's going to be in the middle of the road. So that should give you determination of where your car is supposed to go when you're traveling. I haven't had an update on when the line striping is going to happen, and that will also, provide a visual warning that these are parking spots and not somewhere to be driving through or over. I would have to get back to Jessica on when exactly they are planning to do the striping. They've been having scheduling issues with the person who it was supposed to do the work, so I can try to get an update for you on that. But yeah, I could bring it up to you, Yang, as well, just to see if he has any other ideas maybe that could be added. And I'm not a traffic engineer, so I don't know exactly what kind of protections could go there for traffic flow. So I can bring that up to him and see if he can give you some options or answers to that as well.
I would think if you can hear me, I would think
Yep.
that between the parking lot straight stripes, an arrow curving left, if we simply added line striping from maybe 100 feet up the hill, started, and that line striping curves and follows the edge of the road, the center of the road, to find the intake lane and the outtake lane from Rawson Ave. With that line striping, I think that would be more than enough, shy of, snow on the road
Sure.
to guide people in the right direction.
It's very dark in there. Because you got that, right after that parking lot, you have the house that's here.
Mhm.
And so when you're coming down, and I've driven it on purpose at night to see how it
Okay.
looks. And even with the lines, which are great, but once snow starts,
It drives
It's
you right
dark.
into there.
you're looking ahead, you see asphalt and you're going. So maybe a couple of those arrow signs
Okay.
to get them. There is a curve
So-
here.
So should we, does it,
I mean, it's food for thought.
yeah, does it sound like we should wait until the contractor finishes with his islands and his pavement markings and reevaluate it?
Absolutely.
Because he's gonna be coming back at some point.
Well, this
And
is
so-
something to look at when we go out, definitely on the walkthrough.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. I think those are good questions to bring up for the walkthrough on Thursday. We'll all be out there. Yang will be out there to, you can express your concerns directly when we're on the spot. So we can all visualize and, put our heads together and find a good solution on that.
What time is the walk Thursday?
10 a.m. I believe it's between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m.
Starting where?
I would say town hall. We can probably all meet in town hall and then walk wherever we gotta go, or I'm not exactly sure what we'll do, but I think that's probably for the best. It's a good parking lot for everybody to kind of meet in.
So 10 o'clock is the start point then?
Yes.
Okay.
And you think the pavement markings will be done by then, or only the front?
I don't know. I was under the assumption that they would be working on them either towards the end of this week, but I haven't heard. The most I've heard is that there's no more work being done after today, until Monday. So that's all I know at this point. I'll check in with Jessica and Armin, see if I can get a date for y'all, and get back to you probably via Tira.
Who will notify everybody, right, Kira? Yeah.
Certainly can.
You'll let everyone know the finalized timing?
Yep.
Thank you.
Is it going to be a problem if a quorum of the commission shows up and we don't have an agenda or anything? I know that's always a concern with the wetlands
Yes,
commissions
we
when
should
they have
post a
site
special-
walks.
I would do a special agenda.
Okay, and then if we don't,
I mean,
okay,
conservation does.
It is and it
for,
isn't. If you don't have a quorum,
when
then
they
you don't
have
have to
their
worry about
Right.
it.
sidewalk.
so that'll just protect us from FOI. So I guess that's what I'll do. I mean, this is for members who are interested, then they can come, but it's not like really a regular meeting. There'll be no other agenda items. It'll just be site walk. Okay. Let's see, specifically on the parking slash infra plaza in front of the restaurant, I know that Freeman and Tier were meeting with DOT and everything. I think that it might be nice to update the members. I think I know what happened following the big meeting last month, but I think it's.
So, as everybody's seen, that temporary solution that everybody sort of agreed to is in place. The patio was partially installed and it left let me rephrase. It left an area which has been put in temporary asphalt paving, which looks
shockingly like a couple of parking spots, but is in fact not a pair of legal parking spots.
And
that-
shockingly, cars are parking there.
Shockingly, cars have parked there, which we knew would happen. And that was essentially to buy us some time to try to communicate with DOT about, would they permit a leak? And Amy did most of the follow-up on that because I was on vacation last week, as you guys know. But there was a very definitive email back from Vitaly, who is our lot zip contact there, that the state has zero interest or willingness to provide a lease there, and listed the reasons. And one of the building owners, I know Amy forwarded that to the building owners, and one of them replied essentially with a long reply to her saying why he disagrees. Now, I'll be quite frank, I actually agree with his disagreement based on standing on the ground and looking at what DOT has said versus, my visual observations, but it doesn't matter. What I think, what he thinks, the state has been very clear, they don't want to do it. So I don't know what the solution is going to be here to try to prep the building owners for losing those spots. They're not going to be able to stay. So I don't know, but we do have that correspondence from DOT that it's going to be.
If we think those are legitimate spots and the state's saying no, when I wanted to put the picket fence up at the schoolhouse, DOT said, no, we're not going to lease you that land. And I got Doug Williams' office involved, and someone beyond the person who was being unreasonable made an appointment to send someone out. And when the person came out, he went, oh my God, a fence is good here. We want a fence here. So that's how I got the state to lease me the land along the sidewalk where the fence was. So there are avenues to take if we feel it's truly beneficial and legitimate with no harm.
I mean, I can try getting May to lean on DOT on that. It's certainly worth a try. I mean, observationally, I would say that DOT's comments on how it is unsafe because of where they would be backing out just don't make any sense. They've got plenty of room in their own driveway to back out. You can back out into a local road from all kinds of parking situations. So they're, even though technically it's in the state's right of way, they're not backing in or out on 12. So it doesn't make any sense to me. Obviously, they're looking at it on a plan, and sometimes when you look at things on a plan, the geometry looks one way, and we found that out with Blaine.
Yep.
Right? The geometry looks great or not great, and then the reality is different. So I can try to get May involved there and see if that has any effect. Now, the other thing is, if they do agree to it, there are going to be costs associated to the building owners, and we don't know what those are. I have heard from different things from different people at DOT. The guy I talked to in rights of way seemed to think that they could go up into the thousands of dollars. And somebody else at DOT said he thought it was somewhere like $75 a month.
That's what mine was. Mine was 50 for years, and they, at the end, just before I sold the building, they raised it to 75.
Well, if it's in that range, then, that probably is feasible for them to consider. But if it's into, hundreds of dollars a month,
Especially,
I'm not going to make that decision for the building owner, but, I think the expectation that it's going to be low, I mean, we just don't know.
it's another good area to check out on Thursday with a walkthrough, and especially to take photographs after, now that the landscaping is in, after the island is in and the pavement markings are in, maybe that would be more convincing, like you said, just to take a photograph and, you're not backing up into the state road, even though it's state property.
Right.
Right.
I don't think anybody disagrees that it's safer than it was previously. The state's contention may still be that it's not safe enough. I mean, that is currently what their contention is that it's still not
Right.
safe enough to
Right.
do it.
And they did send their traffic engineer out. I know that Rick Chapman. And I thought he was the one who gave a definitive no. So he was on the site. He didn't do it from the office on a plan.
that makes a bit of a difference for my situation. For me, they wouldn't even come look. If the traffic engineer's been there and he's looked at it, I suspect this is a dead end.
Well, I don't know if Janet's talking about the same time, but when we were there with Rick Chapman, all that construction was still going on, so those temporary spots weren't there to look at even.
But that's true.
So,
The
and
configuration wasn't formed.
correct. So, although he was definitely still skeptical, but the definitive no came from our lot zip contact, and that
DOT.
is a very detailed email.
Okay. All right.
That's where we are with the parking.
Anybody have any other questions, suggestions, comments?
I was there last night, actually, after the TBA meeting, because they'll go out after. And it was reasonably busy there for a Wednesday night. So people are either making an intentional effort to support the business, or they are interested in what's going on in front and stopping more, which is, of course, exactly the point. But I think that they will see a rebound from, the trouble that they had. People do want to support.
People aren't gonna worry about walking 20, 30 feet further to get to the restaurant.
Yet they do it in Putnam all the time.
That's correct.
I think you have to walk farther and Stop and Shop or Walmart to get to your car.
After you have parking spots, then you can walk from, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, and it's probably not the users, it's the owners more overly concerned. But I didn't know, I know that there's been suggestions for them to, improve signage, line their own. Is that something that we could assist them with as kind of a,
That's what I was
You mean-
thinking, like if it's
it might be
if it's a no,
then to help them, assist them with getting that done as kind of like, okay, we took this away, but we'll help you get this accomplished.
You mean like make a
In the
change
parking lot.
order for construction sign or something that say restaurant entrance? Is that what you're talking about?
Either that and, or, lining the parking lot for them. I don't know, I'm just throwing things out.
Okay.
I think we have to
I-
be careful. I think we have to
Yeah,
be careful what the town does for a private business. But
Exactly.
what we do as individuals and to volunteer to help them out, that's another story.
I would say the most that you could safely do there is to put an actual green P parking sign in the 4 new spaces, right? Because that is public parking. That's on town property.
So if I'm hearing Janet, it might be viable to do some additional signage for them as part of this project.
I mean, it would be like a change order to the contract to order new signs, but if our consulting engineer thinks that it might make the intersection safer and the town people requested and there's enough money left in the budget, then that might
And
be
then that's
another.
fine.
Yeah, and keep in mind, there's still work to be done in the spring, so there's still some time to, put some things together, some thoughts together, and when they come back, put the signs in, put the extra striping in,
Kind of nice to go to when you are notifying the owner that indeed those sites are not going to be viable, but this is what we're going to do, kind of
Right.
as consolation at the same time.
Right,
Would make
right.
sense.
And is there, I haven't heard of budget overrun, so is the project within budget? There haven't been enough change orders to make,
Well, I told Yu Yang to let me know if we are getting into the danger zone, and he hasn't done that. I mean, we've definitely had change orders.
okay,
I would have to add up all of the invoices I've signed off on to see, where we are in terms of, I mean, we haven't spent $1 million yet.
It should be a report that they could
Well,
run for you. Instead of
And you adding all the
Yeah.
invoices.
Well, I'm
up.
sure
Have them
that
send
I'm
it
sure
to
that
them.
there is, but I also have a folder full of them, so I could sit down and do it in 5 minutes myself. I just,
or do you know, Kevin?
I do not know. I'm not the bill guy, unfortunately.
Okay, because, but there is, I mean, there's,
I haven't heard any type of, warning or, hey, budget. I haven't heard anything, but I'll add that to the list of things to get back to you on. Once I'm out of the meeting, I can do a little summary email of some things and see, you know, what the
Okay.
thoughts are of that.
Well, and I think too, like you said, you have to be careful what you do to businesses,
Right.
like private businesses, but we weren't really careful when we took it away. So, I mean, if I was a business in town and that happened and you made it right or we fixed it, then I would hope the next business would be like, oh, well, that was nice. And then, so when they came to the next business, oh, we're gonna wipe out 8 of your parking spots, but we'll do this. So like, oh, okay. You, like, when you work with people, then you work with the whole community, because then they see you do something nice, following up something. You know what I mean? Like the state would have come in and took it away anyway, but we're trying to improve businesses in here, not run them out. So let's fix it and either get them signs, help them do their parking lot or something.
Yeah,
And
that's pretty much what Renee is suggesting too, right?
yep.
I think we've got a reasonable chance of being able to do some stuff with signage.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree.
Because we can do that
That's part of the
on
project.
our property.
Exactly.
And, yeah, and or pavement markings, none of those things are outrageously expensive, and if there's a little bit more money left in the budget. I mean, the biggest change order I'm aware of, I guess, would have been the big section in front of the old post office, because that went in at the
Yeah.
end. And that would have been a change order because it wasn't part of the original contract, but it looks so good there.
Mm.
That needed to be.
That needed to be done. I don't know how.
Looks fantastic.
Yeah,
Well,
So-
I know why it was left out, but the reason it was left out ended up not applying.
okay,
So it's
So-
fine.
yeah, so that, to the best of my knowledge, would have been the biggest change order. I don't know, maybe there's some others behind the scenes.
Well, there's smaller ones. This, the drainage area in front of 715 Riverside, they had to add different different riprap. I mean, there's, you know,
Okay.
little ones like
Okay.
that.
Right. Anybody have anything else on Riverside Drive, Watson sidewalk project? Everybody get their comments and questions and. Okay, well, thank you, Kevin.
Thanks. So I'll get back to you on, you know, meeting place on Thursday. Some thoughts about the intersection when it comes to either some sort of new striping, lighting, signage. And then I think there was one more thing I needed to get back to you guys on. Maybe I think it was a striping schedule. So I'm going to talk to Yang right after I get off here, and then look for an email to Tira, and then I'll rely on you, Tira, to disseminate the information, if that's okay.
That is absolutely fine.
All right, sounds good. So keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yep, take care. Thanks.
Okay, so let's move on in our agenda to Blaine Road intersection paving. If there's any update on that?
I was hoping Amy would be in here to see if she'd heard back from Provost and Rivero. She has not told me that she has, so I presume she has not. I don't know why it's proving so difficult to get Dave to reply to this request to make that
Okay.
change. I mean, I do know that he's working on a big project for the 150 acres around North Gordonerdale Pond, but it seems to me that this would take a fraction of his available time to
It'd
amend.
take about an hour and a half.
Not that big a problem.
No, I don't know if you know what we're talking about, Ryan, that right now it. Like it so here's the big mill, here's 630 Riverside Drive, we got the river. Route 12, Riverside, yeah. It's like that huge thing of asphalt, like when you're driving south and you see the mill ahead of you. And so this is also like a kind of a dangerous intersection.
Free-for-all.
Way more pavement. It's a free for all. And when people like hug this side, they don't have safe sight line going around. It's like there's like a sweet spot of safety where if people put their car there, you can see adequately. So one of the projects that this committee has actually been interested in for like 8 years at least is to remove some pavement and dress this intersection up. And the Public Works Department was going to do it And then we lost our public works director, and so, things were been in turmoil. And so I think the current hope was, and there was an engineer who designed this curve, but once we painted it out, we realized it was too tight, so he's supposed to be working on like, a compromise, open the mouth up like a compromise plan, and so we're waiting for the consultant to produce the compromise plan, which then would have to be reapproved by DOT. And then I think the thought is to ask the site contractor, Nunes, who was doing the sidewalk, if they would give the town a price to do that work.
Right, and we haven't been able to get the price because we haven't been able to get the revised plan
Revised.
from
Did,
the engineer.
Did we take into consideration along the river here? There was some concern with the fire department, make sure that they could get there to draft
They should still be able to get there from the other side.
through here.
Yeah.
But if we have curbing and stuff there, then they can't get over it. So I'm just saying, have we made an allowance so that way they can get in there?
There was some discussion of changing the curbing to mountable granite
Yes,
because of plow trucks, never mind the fire engines, but that would serve the same purpose. But they can get to the river from the side that the tracks are on too. There's a big flat area there.
In between the tracks and the river.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they also, drafting over here, but they also draft over here because you have the double spillway here coming down. So they usually do draft from there as well. So it's something to keep, to have a conversation with them for what their needs are, because with it wide open, they pull in and out without a problem. So, and we're far enough, away from the state part of the road. I mean, we're almost, the bridges, that's after we make.
I've been there a million times. I'm trying to think if there's how far away this is and how much room there is there.
Oh, there's quite a bit of room because as we know, people shoot
Just
straight
do
down
it, yeah.
12
Right.
and then make the turn this way.
Right.
Now we're gonna push them this way.
Right.
So you're looking at whatever the size of a fire truck is, just to get in. So it's just food for thought to keep
Okay.
and work with them.
Well, that's interesting
and
because
John
they would
Sharp
never
would be
back
the one.
up there, though. This would be like, how would they get in and out? Because these radiuses here would not, I mean, right now, they probably go in one direction. So it's hard to
Or they
imagine.
drive in this way and then pull all.
Right, so it's so,
Yeah.
right, so it's actually hard to imagine what the turning movements would be, even if this was mountable curb. I mean, they can't like drive all
They
over.
might have to come in on Reardon. Come down. So that they're nosed out onto 12.
The other avenue is if they went this way, then they back in. It's an option, it-
I
it'd be
don't
a
think we
question-
want to,
Yeah,
I don't
let's
think we
not
want to
build
tell
it.
the state DOT that we're suggesting that fire trucks back in off Route 12.
I agree. But that's why they have traffic control and everything that they use on fires.
And we don't
Well,
want to
the-
build it only to have to take it apart because then we
That's why I'm
didn't,
throwing
yeah.
this out, 'cause we're
yeah.
still
Well, who
getting
who in particular do you suggest?
on with this to talk with would be John Sharp over.
He might be like, oh, that's not a problem. We'll just come down, blah, blah, blah. And he'd be,
Or
oh,
or
okay.
it might be just like we have the other side of the river.
Yep.
Because I mean, there's kind of,
But to keep that into consideration because
We used to on wetlands, we used to occasionally talk about something in back of my mind, I'm thinking California curbing. It's a sloped curbing as versus a vertical tall, like straight up 6 inches and 4 inches wide like we use everywhere in town. It's more of a wide, shallow, low curbing that could be driven right over. Janet, do you know what I'm talking about?
yes, there's two different kinds. The bituminous version, we refer to it around here as Cape Cod curbing.
Okay,
And then there is granite slope curving. So instead of it being a perpendicular face, it's like literally on a 45-degree angle, and you can drive over that too.
Yeah.
But so to me, the curb isn't the issue. To me, the turfing up of the landscaping, because this area is theoretically gonna have like a, a basin for drainage to infiltrate, and it's gonna be landscaped, and so is that an appropriate place for trucks to be driving through? Not can they get over to the curb, but
Well, people are fishing there on a regular basis, stopping, photographing there on a regular basis. I know it's kind of a monkey wrench at this point, but should we consider 2 parking spaces there facing into Blaine Road?
I think the only place we could do that is on the west side there but that's in the railroad right away.
Yeah.
We're never gonna get parking spaces there. If we
Okay.
just, I mean, if you leave it as is, people are gonna park, it's kind of like over at the restaurant. People are gonna park where it's flat when they want to.
Right.
As long as we're not telling them that that is okay for them to do, it's also not really our problem. Now, the fire trucks is another thing. So yeah, Ken, do you think you could go over and talk with John and ask him to meet us over there at some point? Just to say, hey, be aware that this is going on. What are the
Have a
options?
conversation.
Yeah.
yeah, see, are there any options and,
How do they currently use it? What do they use it?
right,
So that way we have a better visual picture.
yeah, right.
If we say, we're gonna put an island right here and you're not gonna be able to use it, then we're like, what? But if we say, this is what we're thinking, want to dress this up, and they're like, oh, well, we come in there, is there any way we could do this? And you'd be like, oh, okay, that's not, we can work that out, but you don't want to build it and then say, oh, you use it? Yeah, that's gonna be a problem. Yeah, I'm pretty
That's not
sure that they
doable.
have
Yeah,
room
yeah.
away from the area that we're talking about to pull one of the trucks up, but since I don't know exactly how they do that, I can't be sure.
Right, yeah, so, yeah, that's definitely good conversation to have
I'll
if you
talk
set
to
something
John
up.
and get a hold.
Okay, excellent. Missed you at the meetings, Ken. Anybody have any other good ideas, comments on Blaine Road?
No, I mean, getting that done just gonna help the situation out.
Yeah, and it is crazy that
But even
it's
if it's
been so many
even if it's
years.
another year down the road, we finally get it done. We get it done right.
Yeah.
Right,
What's another year after the last several?
right, that's right, after 8, 10, who knows, I mean.
Don't say that to Bernie.
No, but we're actually.
We're working on it, Bernie.
Even Kelly Square in Worcester's been fixed already.
Yeah.
The peanut is fantastic, by the way.
All the peanut haters can stick it in their pipe and smoke it. It is so much better down there.
Yeah, it stinks.
I like it. I don't feel like I'm driving through like, oh, we made it. Now I feel like, hey.
That used to be my
I'm
morning
good.
commute at the radio station was
Oh.
Heritage, up in and out of Kelly Square.
It is so much better now.
They just put a traffic circle on.
Right, you know, they just slowed everybody down so that you feel like you're. You just can't go through it at 90, you gotta go like 70 now.
Route 16 and 146. To build the new Amazon
Oh, yeah.
up on the hill. They put a traffic circle there coming off ramp heading north
That's interesting.
with tractor trailer. I don't know where the engineers get their thing, the tractor trailers at 53-foot trailers and double horse wheels, they don't just turn on a dime.
That's one like in Rhode Island, like heading to Wright's Chicken Farm. I watched these tractors, they made it so they can drive over it because they can't get over it any other way. They'd be taking it out every time they did
They
a
run over
turn. Yep, they can't make it,
Yeah.
but I'm like, that, to me, I'm like, I don't understand that either, but we're not
Some of
smart
these
like them.
engineers need to get in the truck and try and do it.
And then they'd
Yeah,
be like, this
that
isn't a
would
good
be
place
help.
for a circle.
All right, so moving on onto our agenda, since we were lucky enough to attract a new member, it caused me to look at at the website. And so this is what it says when if anybody goes to our website, we just need to update. number one, that's why it says in the agenda, Bernie missing, because as a member,
He's up there.
well, he's not there. I didn't copy that part, but Bernie is not there. And when you look at our charge, which, of course, the selectmen give us our charge, so I mean, we can't make
Change it.
wholesale changes, but this is like old and obsolete. These are projects that are, we've moved on to a different aspect of a project, or the project is over, or we're,
Then we need to remove it.
right, so I
Well,
guess.
maybe don't remove it, maybe put like completed, so that they can actually see that what we really do, we get things accomplished.
Well, you can break it up.
It'd be nice to have that and say
I don't think
completed.
any of these things
completed,
don't apply,
Well,
except number 3.
well, number 2 was done like 4 years ago. The
Oh, yeah,
grant-funded
that was-
brownfield
yeah.
project, that was
Yep.
I was
completed.
just reading it.
So I guess this is my suggestion is, since I gave hard copies out, and Bernie, you can just look on our website thing, is maybe could everybody think about this and like formulate a bullet point, and maybe we can just like forward it to Tira or something, and at the next meeting, if we just have the bullet points and we can update it.
Tara, do you access the website to do updates?
I can, and I am at least a partial admin on the MSRAC site. I might have full access on MSRAC.
Because
If
I did
don't-
all this,
If I don't, Renee does.
I did all this when I was on wetland, so it would take a little review from me, but I could do it. At one point, I knew how to do all that.
Well, if we just come up with the text of it, I think that there's people in the town who can physically update the website. I guess that's what I'm proposing, is that we just update.
Yeah, I mean,
Update it.
Renee ends up doing most of that. She and Marie are the main admins. They have access to the whole website. I am an admin on certain pages, but not necessarily all functions on all pages. Like, I'm the one who uploads the agendas and minutes on the website for MSRAC. I think I'm a full admin on that page. I'm a full admin on planning and zoning. I'm a full admin on planning and development. Some of the others, I might only have minutes and agenda access, but
Yeah, but you do it where you're not gonna be beating your head on the wall trying to figure it out.
I work
Do you go in
out
there
of
often?
my, so let me tell you how I work. I work out of my email. Whatever is in my email, I do it. If it's not in my email, I may do it if I remember, and I may not if I don't. But I don't, if it's something that somebody has sent me as a request, I just do it in order. So if somebody asks me, can you make this change? And I have the physical ability to do it, I just go in and do it.
So you're in there often enough that you're not gonna spend an hour of your time
Fluid with
figuring out how do I do this?
I'm not as fluid with it as Renee is, but I can do it, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's
Yeah,
not-
and I
it's
was the
not
same.
too hard.
Yeah, I was the
Okay.
same on wetlands.
So basically, my suggestion is that we just replace the obsolete bullet points with new bullet points that are current.
Yep.
And if people can just think about that and just write it down, and we can look at them next month and say, yeah, let's replace 2 with this, or let's replace 3 with this.
Well,
Okay.
And we're relieved
And-
to know that you're not actually missing her.
Right. And of course, we'll add Ryan's name into, or alternate member. Okay. So everybody has homework. Let's move on to item D, the River Mill FEMA flood map appeal update, if any.
Well, I don't think there's any update since last month, in that we've known now for a while that FEMA accepted most of our appeal in terms of the unusual raise in the flood level only in the vicinity of that building. Mike Fanning from WMC was hired by Gumpert to submit the appeal, and his modeling was very clear, and FEMA pretty much accepted it. Now, there is still some question about the flood plain clipping a corner of the building. But that is something that Gumpert is working still with WMC. And I think he's trying to get in touch with CHA, which is what used to be CME, to get some of their old survey stuff. But that is not the appeal. That's a separate process. And a simpler one, I forget what they call it, a letter of map revision, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah, I think his attorney's gonna file a letter of map revision at some point based on that information. But the thing we were most concerned about is resolved. Yay,
To the benefit.
to the benefit of the project.
And how about the remediation grant with all the attorney paperwork and delay, owner delay?
We still are faced with owner delay. We had some incremental movement forward in that the current owner signed a letter saying that he would sign what we needed him to sign. But he hasn't signed those things as far as I'm aware. Now, I haven't followed up with Pam and John specifically about that since I got back from vacation, so I can do that. I can tell you without getting into too many specifics, that we have an alternate strategy on the table that we are pursuing in the background if the owner continues to be truculent, which I anticipate. I do not expect he is gonna all of a sudden turn around and be cooperative.
Is this Andy or is it Mike?
Andy. Mike Harmon has nothing really to do with it. I mean, he has something to do with it in the money chain, but he's not an owner. He has.
We had purchased the rights at one time to mine it, which started this whole ball rolling.
Right. But everybody knows that's not gonna happen.
No,
But he's still essentially getting money from Gumpert on the regular. So it's like a legalized form of extortion.
lease.
From Gumpert or from Andy?
No.
Oh,
So,
I will guarantee you that Andy Scott's not putting a dime into this property. But anyway, so again, without going into the specifics of that strategy, there is one. We are actively working on it. We had a con call about it before I went on vacation. And again, I haven't followed up with our attorney and with John's attorney to see where we are. I presume nothing has happened because I didn't get any emails on it, but that doesn't mean nothing's happened.
I would have to think now with the holidays.
let me just give you a brief history for Ryan's benefit. I mean, this River Mill, this committee had worked on the assessment grants to determine where the contamination is. And then the town, the town basically got a $2 million grant to actually clean it up and remediate the
But we can't
grounds.
We can't finalize the paperwork unless we get
The
a
owner.
single signature, really, from the current owner.
So there's $2 million out there ready to get the contamination out of the ground, out of the building. And it's.
hold up by a signature.
And the problem, as far as we can tell, is that the current owner believes if he signs, he somehow gets higher liability or responsibility. It is in fact irrelevant whether he signs or not in terms of whether he is responsible. He owns it, he's responsible. So if he doesn't sign off, what he's not doing is allowing the person who is taking responsibility for getting it done. If the developer decides he's had enough and walks away, the full weight of the responsibility for the cleanup falls on the guy who didn't get the grant. So he does not have the $2 million to get it done. We do, with a partnership with the current developer negotiating the contract. So it's totally stupid for the guy not to sign, but he's convinced himself that somehow it's gonna be down to him negatively. It's stupid.
So
Why
this,
does he
this,
do that? Yeah, some reason.
Because he's a
These are
loon.
crazy. Not like a legal advice or something.
Well, he might be getting that legal
We may
advice from
not be
somebody,
listening to it.
but if he's getting that legal advice is bad advice. I
Yeah,
mean,
sure.
and this is one of our projects, again, that we've been on for, since the beginning, like 8-10 years. Things do move forward, but they move forward at a glacial pace. And Yeah, that's just the way it is. Whenever we can help out, we do. You know, if there's something that this committee can help to move it around.
Building
Of the 2 million and the contamination removal.
Right,
And there's
because
some
the 2
EPA
million,
element there too. with
the 2 million
contamination.
is the contamination removal, right? That's the money for it.
And we got the state to be totally invested in the project. They've been outstanding.
They have. Now, the good news is, even though technically we are well over the quote unquote deadline to sign all those contracts, everybody at every state agency is so far behind. Nobody's batting an eye. Nobody's breaking our doors down to say, hey, sign this or you lose the money or anything. They are perfectly content to not have to do this administrative work until we are ready. I, on the other hand, am very anxious to get all of
I know.
Yeah, we don't
Yes.
want
For background, has anyone approached him to come here and confront him about it?
Oh,
I'm sure you.
we had a very interesting, were you on that call?
No,
No, it was me, Wayne was on the call, with me and Amy and the tax collector. When the other property that he owns down here was on for tax sale, we took it off on purpose. We had a very unusual call with him, which at the time seemed to result in one agreement, which when we followed up a week later, apparently had walked away with the entire opposite point of view. So there is some like listening problem going on because I was on that call and I know what was said.
Get him on a recorded line.
Yeah, I know.
Well, not only that, but that's a prime. This is the synopsis. This is what we talked about. If there's a problem.
Yeah, it was all very bizarre. So, which is why I believe we are headed to the alternate strategy. And just want that done.
yes, yeah, I mean, the money is out there. It should be put to work in town to clean up that mill.
Does the money have a expiration if there's no
It
signature?
can.
Once
yes.
it's signed, there is a performance period. Probably 2 years, but I would have to go back, look at that. So the clock starts when it's signed and then you deliver in 2 years.
Okay, so it doesn't start till it's.
But if we don't tap into it and get it going at some point,
They'll extend too.
but they can't turn around and play hardball and say, we'll take it
They can, they won't,
back. We don't want
but they can.
That's one thing this committee has always wanted to see, like a piece of construction equipment at that site so that people know that work is going on and progress is there. Nobody knows that attorneys are signing paperwork, studies are being reviewed and approved by EPA, you know, nobody can see that. But if they start getting some construction equipment out there and hauling off contaminated soil, people will notice, you know, think there's progress. So yeah, that's huge. Any other comments on the river mill? Okay, so this is a very timely topic. E, additional streetlights on utility poles over the new Riverside Drive sidewalk. Did anybody get the opportunity to view that area at night? And if so, what are your comments?
I did. It's nice. I mean, there's one pool of light, which I think is right in front of the space in between the restaurant and the salon. But it's dark to the south and it's dark to the north.
You know, normally when you do street lighting, you're gonna do that walk. I had counted roughly a dozen lights from 200 to Rawson Ave. Some of them are grouped, there's 2 or 3
Yeah.
every pole. But if you stagger them, every other pole, it's gonna light everything up appropriately. The only problem you end up with a little bit is in front of the town hall here because it's on the railroad side. But the stuff that is along the actual sidewalk will light up. So we can reposition some of the lights, start accordingly and do it. But I had figured, and I was just driving through it. It was a rough count, about a dozen lights that we needed to put in. So that way we could have that walkability.
Right,
That,
and you made.
why
it
put in
so-
the sidewalks if they
Right,
ain't safe to
Right,
walk?
and then I always feel, and I felt this way before I joined the committee, when I lived in town, and I don't mean it in a negative way, it'll come off that way, but we never do anything 100% ever. So it's my father's famous saying, everything's half-assed. And so that's what you get when you don't So we have a beautiful sidewalk. It's pitch black in some areas. You can't see it. You can't walk on it, even though you can, because we just built it. So I said the same thing. If they did every other pole, daylight bulbs, LED bulbs, because there's still some yellow ones in there, get rid of all that. Then when people come into town, they get the ah moment from Route 200 all the way through what we've just spent all the money on. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't try to put a little light here and a little light there and don't put any there, and because it's just tacky. It like, I thought, I mean, the sidewalks are beautiful, the grass, I'm impressed with the way they put everything back, but I was thinking like little flower pots, like I just had a whole, like when Nichols College, even where they put the roundabout in Rhode Island, everything is just perfect. It's perfect. And this isn't perfect, but it's much better than what we have. And so I think if you're gonna make something, let people see it and make it look the best that you can have it, not dark in some spots. And that area down there is horrible. That it's like a bright light. So then you're like, whoa, and then all of a sudden you're in the dark. And now you're going around a corner that, I even thought before everything, when I was telling Tara that when you drive, you're like, whoa, okay, we can go that. And I'm thinking people are gonna go up over that curbing because they're so used to taking that wide turn. But now that everything's in, it's a very smooth turn. It's not like a wide turn, but it is dark over there. So I think it needs, like Ken said, every other pole, take some off. There's some that's a light, a light, no light, no light, no light, a light, and redistribute it, put new bulbs in it, and then look and see what
Well,
it,
the LED lights are all new.
some of them still look yellow to me. You know how I am with yellow light.
They're all new.
Are
They were
they?
put in 4 years ago when we changed over.
Ken, do you know if the per pole, per light charge from Eversource has gone down on a monthly basis since it's gone LED?
I'd have to get that from finance upstairs with Paula. But if I'm correct, and I'm going back when we changed them over, it was either 10 or 12
$12 a month per pole, per light.
That's about what it was back at the schoolhouse when I had the light put in front there. And
To my
that
kno-
was pre-LED.
Yeah, to my knowledge, it didn't change. They upgraded the LEDs because of the energy savings and the better light quality.
So I haven't done anything with street light installation, and obviously this is also on sidewalks of the town property, but the state right away. So what is the process there? Who's got the responsibility to do
Town, we
what
do as a
pieces?
board of selectmen.
By budgeting. Finance.
So we own the lights.
We rent the lights.
We rent the lights from
We-
Eversource.
Right. We, a number of years ago, when the budget was really tight, we removed a ton of lights. Throughout the town to save money. We were in a budget crisis. And if somebody wanted to keep the light, you as property owner, next to the light, you could pay it yourself. And that, CLMP at that time would just
Right.
bill you.
The actual getting the lights put in is just simply communicating with Eversource. But
Yeah, you just tell them.
if you're a private person,
So they do all the
They do all the
installation
installation.
and we
everything.
just pay the lease.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe how inconsistent it is. There's several sections where you go
Very
5 or 6 poles with no light, and then, like you said, then there's 2 lights. Then you go 3 utility poles with no lights, then 1 light.
But see,
There's absolutely no pattern
a
whatsoever.
lot of those lights have been installed decades ago, based on what the community was doing. You had where Cumberland Farms was, you had an Angela's Garage, you had different businesses all over the and they all needed different lights at the time. Had the lights installed, and just never redistributed.
an individual business can request a light. And the town can
Bernie,
say,
if you want
no,
to
I'm
put
gonna
up your
put one
house,
in.
you can request it and pay for it. Not a problem. Anybody can.
Okay,
But the town, normally what we've done with the town is any of the intersections
yep, I did
at
notice
the
that.
end of
All
the
the-
road, so and try, that's basically, or back curves where you need some lighting.
And that's what, this was going back to 2012.
So it sounds
10
like,
years ago, we had removed them and we kept lights in certain areas.
so do they just need to be like reorganized, so it's
Well, like if
a
you-
light, no light, a light, no light, a light,
We
no-
can move-
and then eventually everything's lit up because they bleed over to
But the way to
the.
go is every other light,
Yeah.
unless it's an intersection.
So,
But it's something that we need to look
Yeah.
at to make the walkability
Right.
there. And the same thing's gonna happen eventually.
Ken, is this Board of Selectmen or Board of Finance? Who
Well, it's the Board of
says
Selectmen.
yes or no?
Board of Selectmen authorizes the lights, because I had done it with the board to put the one at the end of Boston Ave. Because there was never a light there, it was so dark. or something. And that was just for safety, and we didn't put a light there.
you-
But we need to know how many more lights that we need.
well, this is bringing me back. I hope people have some time in their schedule next Thursday when we're walking the whole section, because that would be in the
Take
perfect
notes, yeah,
time
yeah.
to, and we even have this whole set of plans to circle and or record the utility pole numbers.
Yeah,
That
we could do all that.
if this committee thinks that that's a good idea, then we could come up with a list and make a letter to the Board of Selectmen.
Send it to us with the board. and-
So are there lights, so if it went light, would they take a light off and use that light and move it to where, okay. So it's not like,
What do you, what do
They'll
you, what do
relocate a
you,
light, that's not a problem.
what do you
So
think?
we can simply, when we take the walk, when we take the walk, we can simply have someone recording poll numbers. And then putting a check mark next to it if we want a light on it and an X if we don't.
Sure.
Yep.
But, when we're driving, since it gets dark so early now, take a look, as you're driving down 200 Boston Avenue.
yeah, you can
Visualize.
see
how
it.
well-
Yeah, oh, yeah. And actually, it is really good. Now that I think about this, you don't have a reduced set of plans already printed out, do you, by any chance, 11 by
Not already
17?
printed
Okay.
out, but I can print it out every time. Got the file.
You know, we can do, you
Okay.
can even take your phone, take a picture of the pole with the number, send them over all the things like 103 needs a light, 203 has there's too many lights there, take, and just kind of take an, I mean, maybe they go by
But
that.
do
but
keep
yeah.
in mind, 200 you want a light. When we get to Blaine Road, you may want 2 lights on
Yeah.
it, because of that intersection edge.
So,
Then you get down to Thatcher Road and so forth. So
Yeah.
just
Well,
try and
and
keep some
maybe
of
keep
that
it
in mind.
consistent if we are doing it, so that when we go over to Main Street, if there's 2 lights at the end of the road over here, then there'll be 2 lights, so that nothing looks like patchy. Do you know what I mean?
So
Like
it's
it'll
a-
look smooth.
yeah, so it sounds like what I'm hearing is people think that every other light is a minimum, and in some places you would have more if you happen to have an intersection.
Yeah.
So the every other light would be minimum, and there
I'm
might
just
be
gonna
more.
toss this out there, having nothing to do with whether we should or should not pursue this. But just be aware, as soon as you bring this topic up, the hornet's nest is gonna come out and say why we shouldn't have any streetlights because we're a rural community. I just be aware that you are gonna get that feedback. I don't care about
Until
that.
the kid gets hit on the sidewalk.
Yeah, but it's not that, we're looking at walkability,
Right, look,
people to get out.
you know that, I know that. I'm
And
just
that's
telling
the
you that
idea
that
of
is
putting in the
feedback you're gonna
sidewalks.
get.
And, well, and exactly, you don't, like, I don't feel like I need, I mean, I live on Bravenel Road, it is a country road, I don't feel like I need any lights there, but downtown is different.
Right.
It's completely different animal, you can't say it's a rural town, so we don't want
These
them
are the same
anywhere.
people who want us not to develop downtown because it's a
Because they're-
rural
right.
town. So
But
I'm just telling you, you're gonna
And
get
I-
it.
and I
I'm
know
not
that-
saying you need to pay attention to it.
And I don't pay attention to that because you know what the argument is, and we've got the argument. We're looking at doing Main Street to make that, we've got the project that comes to fruition at the Mill Pond, just north of that, 152 acres. I mean, we get the 929 within the next half a dozen years, hopefully as this progresses, that development starts. This all ties into this whole redevelopment.
Right, and honestly, by the time some of these people that are complaining, they won't be here, trust me. They can count on it. That's one thing we can be sure of.
We want to be able to.
Right, and you
grow
have to,
sustain
you have
small
to think
business.
big,
Well, it
even
is
though
true
it's
that because
small,
we're not
you know
very
what I mean?
walkable, we
Yep.
have lower health outcomes
mean-
than most other communities. So yes, you're probably right. Many of them will.
I mean, and I do like what you're saying, Charlene, about just more like beautification of it. Like right now, it's basically like just taking something really crappy and fixing it so it's good and functional. But the next level is it make it beautiful. Now, there is a bunch of landscaping that was involved, there is,
There's some bushes, like,
So-
I mean, I can see, it. I feel like it's on the cusp, like we just like, ugh, we could just like get over that. And I've said it from the beginning, show them something beautiful. If you show them something beautiful, if you do it half butt, they're like, oh, whatever, that, we could have done that. But if you go above that, then they'll be like, oh, all right, okay, like, it's a little under, even like Milltown, with that, I was looking at that thinking, oh my God, that is a mess, but that is beautiful. I would, if I owned it and saw those 2 parking spots there, I'd be like, get rid of the parking spots, I want tables out there, I could see it, I can see it, I can see a little wall with some lights on it, outdoor dining, I wouldn't want those, I'd be like, nope, get rid of them. Put the patio in it.
me
I want
too.
this all
People
for
like to eat
business.
outside.
Yeah,
you have
and
2
that is
cars
exactly the
parking.
plan that
Yeah.
we presented. That is
But then,
exactly
but
the
then
plan that we
handicap, I get it, like the lady, the hairdresser, so then we gotta think of something, maybe on the side where they drive in, maybe make it a drive in this way and only come out that way and put a handicap spot right on the side of the hair salon. Do you know what I mean? They have it decorated, but so you'd have to use the driveway now because it is all kind of nice and incorporated, but I think it's beautiful. 30 people sitting outside or 2 parking spots. I know money would be 30 people sitting outside.
Yes.
So,
Seating
Seating
is
is
more
more,
income generating than parking.
But handicap is also important. I don't wanna
Yes.
But,
make
you
it
know,
sound like it's
Again,
not.
that's getting back to, okay, these away, you're saying,
Mhm.
that all this area behind the buildings, we can lay out something that will work,
Right.
that is very not inexpensive.
Mhm.
And say, if you redesign it this way and line it up, you can get 50 parking spaces.
Right, because when we did the lines
And it
at the
works.
mill, we got parking. Now the lines have dissipated because it's not tar and people are parked everywhere. I mean, lines set a precedent. It makes it look inviting. You drive in, there's a parking spot, not like, oh, there's no, never a place to park. Like, if that car would have moved over, I could have parked there. But if everything is,
Yeah.
it'll
If there's
tighten
no
it up.
striping, people will take a space and a half.
Yeah,
worth
of
course
space.
Right. They just
Could be
do it.
opportunistic, but he happens to also on the other building. So if you
Eric
parked in
does.
the, Eric does.
Yeah.
And if you put it in the back, if you could park in the back there, there's a whole other spots, but does that interfere with the residential parking? You could
I
make-
think that's
He
what he
definitely
said.
needs some residential
Yeah.
parking. He
Yeah.
made that
He
clear.
has to.
But
yeah,
he's always got to do is
certainly.
put signs up, residents only. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
It
There
happens
are
everywhere.
plenty of parking
Yeah.
lots which are properly striped,
Yeah.
have some restricted spaces.
Sure.
Yeah, handicap,
We have a
resident.
rule at the bank.
It's a benefit that he happens to have because he owns both structures and therefore has parking lot access. So in theory, you could divert some of the stuff to business.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that in last meeting, but I was.
You know, and that's in the same thing, okay, your employees
Don't park and,
them park on Market Street.
Oh, yeah.
And walk over. so you're a
Absolutely.
customer.
right, at the
Absolutely.
mill, I had, right, at the cafe, I had the workers park across the street at the Knights of Columbus, and I would walk them over at night, because it was so dark, to make sure they got across the street, but they didn't park.
At the library. There are hundreds of spaces at the library that are underutilized.
That's a great
It looks
point.
like parking lot.
Walk up the hill.
That's right. If you couldn't park in front of 85 Main, which by the way, you can't, you park
Park and
at
you
a
walk.
satellite lot
Walk.
and
Yeah.
you walk. And
They
the-
do in Putnam, they walk everywhere.
Mhm.
Municipal walks right there, and they walk.
Yeah.
that's right. We have not, as a community,
Adapted.
wrapped our
So, yeah.
heads around the fact that when you have stuff to walk to, people will walk to it.
Yeah.
Right? So we've only got a couple of things to walk to now, which is why people are used to driving there. But the whole point of all of this stuff that we're doing, you know, the 36,000 square feet of retail that's gonna be in the big mill, the reducing the zoning sizes so you can infill and people can put little things in.
Little shop.
All
So
of
you
those
can walk
things,
to them.
so that you can walk to them.
You don't have to park, and we have no parking spots, it's obvious, so we have to park somewhere else and walk and walk and walk and,
And I get the handicap,
yep,
so you put in a few handicap.
right,
That's really.
right.
Yeah, so, I mean,
And that'll be done by next week.
So if if there's a goal, so it sounds like Charlene has maybe a goal or the committee about, beautification. I mean, so that's something that maybe, Tira's always gonna look out for grants. Maybe there can be some kind of a streetscape improvement grant or something to, if the sidewalk is done, if the committee, it sounds like the committee is interested in pursuing a letter to the selectmen about additional lighting. We don't know if we'll be successful, but at least if we request it, then maybe if there's some other grant comes in for some kind of streetscape beautification, signage.
And
or-
always, no, low maintenance. Don't get anything like, you know what I'm saying? Stuff that you can set it and forget it, because we always get grants and we get things and we get it, but we never can take care of it. We
I
never
know,
can
that's
upkeep
that's
it,
a problem
and
in
it looks
all
like crap.
towns.
So then you,
All municipalities
So
have that.
brick, concrete, never gonna touch it, paint it, it doesn't chip, it doesn't. If someone hits it, they're responsible because they were in the accident. Don't put garbage cans up out where people can do their trash. Like you have to think, like, it's horrible to think that way, but you want it beautiful, but you want it always to be beautiful, not it looks great for 10 years and now it's falling apart and we're like, oh, that is disgusting. So concrete.
Okay,
So yeah,
So-
the next
so-
agenda item is that placemaking grant.
right, so and it's supposed to be a shovel-ready project, and we did have, we were just supposed to brainstorm. I think Renee had some ideas, is there anything that could be done at Riverside Park?
Well, at the last meeting, it was supposed to be that we were gonna do a walk at Riverside Park,
Right.
but then it turned into what it was. So we still haven't done a walk to look around. Now, $50,000 is a lot to any of us individually, but is not a lot in terms of a project of any kind. Do I think we can come up with something? Yes, I can. Yes, I do. But I still don't know what that is that we get the most bang for the buck out of.
Does it have to be a brand new type of a project?
No,
Or
it could be a renovation.
rehabbing?
It could be a
Because I'm
renovation.
just thinking of the gazebo that's down.
We'd have to talk to recreation. I believe there is already some kind of plan to do some kind of renovation there. I don't know how much. And I think you would have plenty of money left out of that 50,000 after you did what you.
I don't like that plan. I think that that was a grant given for them and let them do it and take the $50,000 and do something that's up in the business area. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that right now, that area is not used for good. They sleep in the gazebo, they throw garbage in the gazebo. Like, I feel like anything you do down there, people are just using it the wrong way. So I think the focus shouldn't be on that right now. Come up where people appreciate what we've done. You know what I mean? And they get to use it instead of because I was thinking down there, put in concrete chairs or a concrete patio, picnic tables.
Swanson Park.
No, where were you talking? I'm talking across the
We
street.
can do something in Swansea.
I'm talking about
Right.
Swanson Park.
Yeah, like
because-
somewhere they can go and eat lunch, like let it be, move away from down there. I think let them use their grants, let the VFW, let them help, but let's go somewhere and let
That's the
people
line.
enjoy it. Huh?
Lines.
I'm
Alliance,
pretty
yeah.
sure that rec has some plan to do some renovation of the gazebo, so I think we can leave that aside. Now, Janet and I did drive down through the park one day in
Which part?
Riverside. And, I refer to that park as Riverside parking lot, right? It's not really a park. It is a parking area that has some grass. And if we really wanted that to be a proper park, we should be de-asphalting some of it. So that would be a thing, but $50,000 might be asphalted, but it's not really gonna get you anything back in there. So since we have gone to all this effort to make the main travel corridor attractive, I do think Swanson Park could use a little bit of help because it's an underutilized park. We need the green space.
This is Swanson Park.
It's across
Right
from-
across from Main
Mill
Street.
Street.
You know,
One of the things that I had thought, we had talked, whether it's like the different tables in there, which enhances the town grill to come out and eat, and then there's all places. We have the World War I monument, flagpole at the end of Main Street, and Riverside. All of our other monuments are down in Swanson Park. In theory, that one should be brought down
You mean the one that's up on
Yeah.
the corner? Yeah.
and brought down and put into this park. And, they've got the monuments facing the road. Theoretically, the monuments should be facing into the park so people can walk. and look
Memorial,
at it.
yeah.
It all should be redesigned and rebuilt.
So the question is, how do we create for little to no money, a plan, which is the shovel-ready plan for the whatever landscaping or amenities we want in that park that will come in at a $50,000 price tag or less, and then assume that we're gonna get the grant, which is a whole different ball of wax, right? All grants are aspirational. And we've had good luck, but this is the T-Mobile grant, which means it's national, means they're gonna get hundreds of applications from places just like us.
They're
So,
just as needy as.
and that are just as needy as we are. So but it's a quarterly grant, right? So I can just keep reapplying it until we get it, or, keep modifying it until we get a win.
Yes.
Yeah.
It would be key if we're talking about the because of the Veterans
Mhm.
Memorial that you bring in, you probably already said this, bring in your, your VFW, your American Legion folks to have some input in this. Sure.
What about recreation? Maybe improvements to the Little League field at the end of Riverside Park. You'll recall Norma was behind putting the play area in at 3 rows, maybe, something like that at on Main Street at the old library, something recreation related.
Well, the old library being 65 Main is the next thing on the agenda, and we'll talk about that in a second. Renee, what's going on
I'm not clear on Bernie's comment. Are you talking about putting like a playground in there? at
Yeah,
Swanson
perhaps.
Park?
I'm just suggesting that if we look at this $50,000 grant and it's a community related grant, then community recreation site, it might score higher with them than paving the sidewalk.
I will absolutely tell you that if we're gonna do any playground, the best place to put it is to redo the one that's at Mary Fisher. That's closed. They can't use it. And,
Oh.
You've got hundreds of kids every day that could be on that playground.
There
We
you
use
go.
it for rec. When it was open, every day it's nice. Our after-school program is out there too. So
They are actively looking for grant programs for that elementary school playground. I mean, I've talked to them a couple of times. The thing is, we're just in terms of this agenda item and this grant, $50,000 gets you one piece of equipment.
Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
No.
And that doesn't, well, for a decent sized one, one piece of equipment installed. That's what you get. I mean, you can blow $100,000 more on a playground and,
Because of all the safety requirements.
yeah, and
and that, yeah, I'm worried that that's not shovel ready, but what's the condition of, now that you're leading people right up to Swanson Park, and I was just parked in there the other day, but what's the condition of like this walkway that comes through and everything?
it's just a desire line, right? It's not even paved.
No, it's
Is it paved?
paved.
Well, I mean, like something like that, it would take like no time to make shovel ready, because you could literally mark up a plan like that or something and dress it up and make it more attractive to go there, so that the people with a couple picnic
And if
picnic
I
tables. or
remember
something.
correctly, the sidewalk does not, the walkway does not end at the crosswalk.
Yes,
It's off.
yeah, because the crosswalk, there
They
wasn't
did
enough
fix that.
sight line, so somehow they moved this crosswalk to make it,
And they did put in the
Like-
concrete there.
and so then it goes to like a crappy
That's right.
bituminous, right?
Yes.
Well, what about something like upgrading and maybe even not making it a straight line? Making some
And
kind
we,
of- I don't know.
Well, not only that, but you've got this, which goes all the way over to here, which is really to nowhere. with the parking that's down through here now, you know, sidewalk should almost be in the middle, or you could have a couple more than one coming in,
So-
because you do want to keep most of the foot traffic coming up this way.
So let me suggest a couple of things here. We've already put something on our list for that sidewalk next week.
Right.
That sidewalk is gonna end here. So when we're done with Freeman and Noons, we can go across the street as a group and say, what do we see here?
Well, and the other thing is over the years, many of those trees have come down. They've taken, so that, I mean, a whole landscaping project.
Right. So, and
And
again,
I would
just
prefer to
in
keep
terms
it
of
as
the,
a-
of the item of the target for the grant, let's think in terms of what can we do for $50,000 with little to no background planning, like something we can take care of easily before we even apply, that will fulfill the mission of that grant, which is essentially placemaking and community gathering.
Well, I think it's a nice tie-in with what we've just done.
I agree.
I prefer to keep that more of a passive park than putting a playground right there on Route 12. I mean, really dressing it up like Janet said, and fixing that. So I think it's a great idea. And within probably that, somewhere in that
And keep in
50,000 mark.
mind, maybe moving, like, obviously that's gonna cost more than $50,000. Moving that monument up there down into the park, if we can visually keep a space, like it would look nice here if we brought that down here when we could do that. That would be
Oh my God,
nice.
I forget where I was, maybe Woonsocket somewhere, and they had a beautiful Veterans Park with an eternal flame. It was just gorgeous, really was. Kind of a cool thing. I know.
But it puts all of our monuments where they need to be.
Yeah.
But again, that discussion has to go with VFW, American Legion, because that's moving from Main Street with a flagpole. Makes sense.
And if we beautify that whole area,
Yes,
everybody
make
wins.
it a
They
really
would
nice
like that.
Veterans Park.
You know, all those bushes should come out. They've overgrown, they're too.
Yeah,
big.
these here, I
Yeah,
know, they're
they all
like
need to come
ridiculous.
out.
They're
Right.
ridiculous,
They
yeah.
need to come out.
Well, so we have a species list from the
Yeah.
landscaping we just put in, which has low maintenance native plants on it. So we can create the species list right now. We have it. The question is, does that monument move? Do we put in picnic tables? Do we put in benches? Do we do anything to the pathway? What are the costs related to those things? Can we create a good, simple proposal? I mean, you're not in LA, but you could act like one, I'm sure.
But that would, you know, the picnic tables here enhances what we, you know, with the
Or,
development here.
yeah, and or benches, like you said,
And with
for
the, and if,
reflection on the monuments. and-
right, if we're moving that down, would they be interested in helping? If we have $50,000 to do something, they might love that idea and be like, oh, well, we'll give, $5,000 and we can put a flame in, or
I think
we'll give
American Legion would do that, of
$10,000
course.
and I can, so now we're up to $60,000, $70,000 and
And we all know that at some point, when we were talking about the mill,
we wanted to move that.
That whole intersection up there was gonna possibly need to get reworked on top.
Yeah, that was one of the ones that CHA looked at.
Yeah.
CME
Yeah.
looked at.
That
There's
they
that
did
one,
say get it
and
out,
of course, the
right?
one at
Buckley Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you got the houses up on the hill.
Perfect.
So,
right,
so
so that'll be
people
on the
seem to
agenda
be, there
for our
seems to be a
walk.
consensus that we should explore Swanson Park for the $50,000 T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if
Okay.
we don't get that grant, I'll just keep submitting it, or we'll find some other means. But that means we'll have a plan.
But
that
it
we
still
can work
gives
on.
us a goal of something to do with the park that.
Right.
Enhances that walkability.
So you have a
everything.
plan, whether we, and the other thing I would suggest, those in our travels, there's veterans parks all over. Take a picture that we can, let's just not, I mean, I know we have to keep it simple and all of that, but it's not half-assed.
You know, we can,
We don't have to.
She used my word and she wasn't even in the meeting.
you know, we can use a tree or two here or there, that's not an issue.
And
We
if
have- we
bushes
have the
catch on
capability.
fire. Yep, good idea.
All right. So I guess time is moving on, so we should move on to item G, 65 Main Street update.
So I think everybody here knows, but just in case, I was on vacation. I got notification about another grant award for 65 Main. So I had submitted to USDA Urban Agriculture and Innovative Production Competitive Grant Program, which I was super interested in receiving that grant because it was a zero match requirement. So the Fed has already given us the award. In fact, we already have the money for the reno. We have the local funding for the architectural and engineering. That contract was sent over to the architect yesterday. So that is going to begin imminently. So I had submitted another grant to fund the development of the business plan, maintenance plan, curricular programming. So that's $124,000 in change that they have extended to us. You can thank our federal delegation, by the way, because Courtney, Murphy, and Blumenthal all co-signed one letter recommending that we receive funding for the project, and I am sure that was a factor, 100%.
Nice.
So essentially what that $124,000 is going to fund is the participation of the nonprofits and companies who were previously going to donate their time as in-kind to cobble together essentially a year-long public engagement process. So Teague is going to be able to pay for a staff member now to participate to do their piece, which is essentially trying to develop the clientele for the first, the freshman class of the incubator program and the people participating, like how would you want to be as an entrepreneur? They will also, in the long run, as a part of the plan, allow us use of their commercial kitchen, but that's sort of later down the line. So they're the outreach. John Guskowski and his company Tyche is going to work with me on the actual public engagement process, the meetings, and that background work. Connecticut RC&D, of which John and I are both council members, is going to contribute the expertise in developing the curriculum that reaches out to veteran farmers, first-time farmers, homestead farmers for that aspect of the sort of small ag and food system startup. And then the fourth partner is ECCD is going to come in and assist with the 3.2 acre parcel of Riverside Park that butts up to 65 Main, which is currently inaccessible, working with a permaculture consultant with whom we will hire on an RFP process to develop a landscape plan to clear the invasives, make it accessible, and replace those invasives with high food value native species. So a free food forest, essentially.
They don't discern between native and not.
She said, get a goat.
She said, get a goat.
I'm watching a lot of homesteading things, and goats and chickens
Goats are-
and their poop, and
Goats
it
are
all just
fantastic.
works.
Those are
Permaculture,
fantastic. Yeah.
right at your hand.
So that's, so all of the background now on the 65 Main project is fully funded. There will be one more round of funding that I'm going to have to pursue, which is implementation. But that will be much easier to do when we have a business plan. And then at some point it becomes self-sustaining once it's up and running.
I had a question, and I'm assuming because you said you were looking to use Teague's commercial kitchen, that was not part of the plan down there, and I'd be
Correct.
curious why.
Two reasons. One, because Teague has access to that and we want to build that partnership. Three reasons.
Small commercial kitchen up there.
Yeah, so actually three reasons. The partnership piece, and the fact that it's already existing. It's a small facility over there as well.
Sure.
And
That
that
did have a commercial kitchen in there, though.
oh, I don't doubt it. But that $240,000 reno is not going to get the whole thing done. So in terms of being able to more fully utilize the facility, we want to be able to do that in short order. Now, $240,000, I am confident will get us to where we can use the facility, but there's going to be spots in that building that are not done with. That we're going to have to do later with local labor or other grants or whatever. So it's a better use of resources. It would also be expensive to install.
Sure.
So it's a better use of resources to get the basement level and first floor stabilized, able to be open, used for the work share and the curricular stuff, and to have access to the community garden so we can actually water it, as opposed to whatever it is we're doing down there. And then solve the other problems later. So, yeah, we can solve the commercial kitchen problem with what we already have. So that's that, 65 Main, moving
All
forward.
right.
It's gonna be a busy couple years down there.
Thank
Now we
you.
just gotta get the sidewalks done.
Yeah.
And the
Oh,
road.
yeah, is that
Somebody's
on the
there.
agenda?
I didn't put it on the agenda because I think it's something, well, let's talk about it under other committee business. Is everybody done with 65 Main Street? Okay, so other committee business. So this is an interesting situation. On the Riverside Drive project, I mean, this committee kind of paid for the consultant and hired the consultant to design it out of grant monies that we had obtained ourselves. And so then we pretty much assumed the role with the selectmen's blessing to continue to be involved in the construction phase as managing the project. Now, so now the town wants to redo Main Street with sidewalks and paving, except they're paying for the consultant out of the road budget. So I actually don't know if the selectmen want us, it's something that we should maybe ask them. I could send them email. I don't know whether you guys would put it on your agenda, or whether they would like us to assume a similar role to the sidewalk project, even though we didn't pay for the consultant.
I think it's a smart move.
Because then it would keep everything.
It's under your charge or your amended charge,
And it's
right?
also,
It's the mill site.
it is part of.
Our
extending
area,
Of that area.
that,
Which is between the two. mills.
well, okay. So
I
you
mean, I
think, so
have
you
no
think it's
problem.
appropriate?
I think it's
Okay, I'll
appropriate.
double check with Amy too.
Because our building committee is out straight. You know, there's a lot going on. The expertise is there, we've already done.
And we already have the relationship with the
And-
consultant.
Right,
So it makes sense to continue that.
okay. So I just wanted, I didn't want to assume, you know, that, you know, we have a role to play, we have a charge, so one of the selectmen is saying they think it's appropriate. I think Amy will too. So I'll just reach out to her and then we'll start putting this on our agenda. And then when a consultant comes in with design ideas, we can review them and provide
And
comments,
of course, with that, we'll get Joe involved
right?
as well, because we
Right.
still gotta figure out what we need to do with Main Street.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the consultants, part of one of their charges is to do core samples in the pavement, and so they're gonna make a recommendation as to should it be full depth reclamation, should it be ground, or,
Talking
You know.
about the asphalt area?
yes,
And we also have to be careful because of some of the drainage system that's in there is from the mill days.
right,
That is brick laden and everything.
and yes,
It's a very
It's
interesting.
terrible.
it's
Yeah.
Very interesting.
So-
through there.
okay,
And the goal there again is to do exactly what we did with what we were able to fund out of the bar grant, which is submit either for a lot SIP or something comparable. As far as I'm aware, lot SIP is still underutilized statewide, so I think we would have a high chance of success there again.
right.
Yeah.
And so that way, and also, yeah, like you said, in effect, it's like the building committee for the downtown area, you know, that's kind of the role, and that's why I thought, you know,
I mean,
we
we're
should
already at
update,
65
you know, we
Main,
should
looking
update-
at this.
Yeah.
update our
And at some point,
stuff in the mills.
we'll probably get involved with the old bakery.
I was just gonna
Speaking of
ask.
which, on the market this week.
Okay.
In fact, it might be on LoopNet already. But the broker emailed me 2 days ago to say that they are officially moving forward. She has been in contact with all three of the interested parties who have reached out to me about it. So hopefully that will move pretty quickly. It is just a cement box in there now. It's been all stripped out and cleaned.
All the
Anything-
equipment's out of there.
Yeah, everything's been scrapped or sold. Now, I will say one of the interested parties would be a great person to take it over, but they are also a bakery, which means I think 0% chance of getting the current owner to sell to them. They have a non-compete
Disclosure.
policy. But the other two, I mean, they're all legit. They're all legit developers with different kinds of ideas. Any one of them I would be glad to see take it on, and maybe somebody else will come up to it. But that, if it's not already up on LoopNet or whatever the other commercial.
Yeah, that would be great.
I did hear some rumors about St. Joe's. Did you hear anything?
There were,
St. Joe's is, I don't know if it's technically under agreement, but I mean,
Okay.
that was essentially sold before they even listed it.
oh,
Sold for what?
But it's not under agreement, so it's not really sold.
Right, but I mean, it was
Yeah.
under negotiation before they even listed. I actually don't even.
where that stands.
I I have not talked to the partner in it, that I am connected to in I don't know, over a month, but, I think she came to my gig. So at that time, he said it was still moving forward, so they're just doing whatever.
Somebody was in the last week who has some ideas and would be very interested in doing something, so I was just curious.
Well, I mean, you can still reach out to the broker, but as far as I'm aware, that is
we're
moving
not taking
forward.
any more off.
Oh, then there you go.
Because I had somebody that I directed that way, and we have all the offers we want, diocese.
Okay.
Interesting.
You're gonna leave money on the table, and somebody comes in and says,
Yeah.
"No," but that's what they're doing.
Well, they're not paying any taxes on it, and whatever, right? I mean, but, yeah, so as far as I'm aware, what we can anticipate is some kind of housing development. What the person that I spoke to was interested in doing something age restricted. I always push people towards more of a set aside than a fully restricted, but also pushing them very much towards using some other portion of that building for something other. Like those are the words that just come out of my mouth on any of these larger properties. Do more than one thing in the building, right? I've been spitting out laundromat to people for ages now. But
Which makes sense with residential anyway.
it makes sense with residential, but not just a laundromat that's.
No, I get it.
Right,
No,
open to the public
yep.
and also has third space value, right? A cafe or a bar or whatever, something that's a gathering place so that people will walk to it and it'll activate that. And the one person I spoke to was interested in something like that, but it could be anything. It could be a small food co-op, right? We talk about not having proper fresh food access in this town all the time, right? For a town full of farms, people are buying Hot Pockets at Dollar General to live in this neighborhood, right? And that's just a tragedy. So, every time I talk to anybody about anything in this neighborhood, that's what I'm saying. Put more than one thing to use. So hopefully that'll.
I'm just curious, what are the other bakery sale people? What are the other businesses? You said there was a bakery.
So one of them's a bakery. Another is the First Hartford or whatever, the guy we spoke to, and he's got sort of more amorphous plans, but they are a very experienced development company. They could put a number of different things in there. They are a very competent development group. And then the third is actually a friend of mine who's an economic development guy from Central Mass, has done a bunch of incubator projects and all across Central Mass. He's got a partner who has a cabinetry shop who apparently is going to be at least temporarily occupying the Landry's flooring building or another one of those buildings across the street.
Oh, yeah, Beauregard,
That one, yes. But he's looking for a permanent facility in this region. A cabinet maker in there would be a fantastic use of this.
Yes.
So she has spoken to all three of those, the broker, has spoken to all three of those potential.
What I
interested
understood
buyers.
I thought from Cindy in that Beauregard building is that, so now their flooring granite place, they have that as a showroom, but from what she said is that they're looking they don't really do mostly commercial. They don't have foot traffic in there, so they're looking to move that towards the back and use the front part of that. Somebody was interested in opening a cafe. That's what I heard from Cindy like last week.
She hadn't mentioned that to me, so I don't know how far along that is, but hey, bring it on. Bring your plans. I'm telling everybody, bring your plans, bring it in front of the commission, do it in the next 12 months, get stuff going.
The one that's not accepting anything new, you said was the St. Joseph's building, but the
Yeah.
bakery in theory can still be in play.
The
Till it
bakery's
closes.
absolutely in place,
That's in
just
place.
on the market.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah, the only thing that I essentially know from a couple of sources connected to it is that the current owners, who are a bakery conglomerate based out of Georgia, do not wish to sell to another commercial bakery. Their business model is essentially to buy small to mid-sized commercial bakeries and bankrupt.
Sounds like a commodity trader runs it.
Yeah.
That is quite the piece of property.
It is with the 2 houses and the,
Well, the Stein House is academic, but the old Fulsher House up on the hill in its day was one of the premier houses in the area.
You could tell just from going in there, because they left a lot of stuff in for the offices, but that was like swanky. in the
Oh, yeah.
70s.
Oh, it's got a full bomb shelter in it.
That's right.
Mhm.
It's unclear whether the white house that was duplex can be salvaged. I've been in it. It's a mess on the inside. The real problem is, I think the foundation might be compromised to make it
Stein's
feasible. I mean, it is, there are open holes in the concrete, which is too bad.
But anything can be fixed.
yeah. Yeah, when we bought my
We're
house.
doing
across the
65
street,
Main.
We had to do the whole sill over and part of the foundation.
Yeah, the interior of that house makes 65 Main look like new construction.
Really?
Okay, I did hear that. They just kind of up and left too. That just.
Whatever happened there was clearly an eviction thing, because it is full to the brim with everything that whoever was living there owned. Kids' clothes and toys and multiple televisions and mattresses, but that's just junk.
Right.
It's the foundation. If you even walk, I wouldn't go in it. None of us would go in it either of the times that I've been over there. If you stand outside the bulkhead door and look down, I am not one to tear things down. I am always fixed before flattened. But this one might be a tear.
Everything behind the house was an open field.
Still open, it's just a gravel park.
Well, now it's the parking lot, but the bakery.
Yeah,
was
but now
lot
he's not a
smaller.
kid.
None of us are.
Okay, is there any other committee business? Then we have item 6, member comments.
Comments, new member?
It's in the bakery. Look at. I'm just here to, listen and
How long
figure
you
out what's
been in
going on.
town?
I've been in town for my whole life. I was born in Putnam.
Hey, go over
I
to
spent
the,
20 years away though, so.
go over to the library, get Echoes of Old Thompson.
I've got all that stuff. I have a whole, I think I bought everything at the Historic Society building at one point.
Well,
in
the
both
Echoes of
houses.
Old Thompson first edition.
Oh,
yeah.
mine might be number 2, but
Number 2.
I have number 2, you're
But
right.
if you go over to the
The prior
library,
one.
they are reprinting, they are taking orders.
I have the old blue one too, that most people
Oh,
don't
yeah,
have.
it's a
That's a rare one,
bicentennial
the
one.
bicentennial one.
Yeah, I
yeah.
have it at home.
But Echoes of Old Thompson shows all the villages.
I might have
you know,
volume 1.
with
for
light-
sale in the conference office.
Which one?
Volume 1.
One.
Might have some left.
For sale? Nobody had.
I think I have some in there. Yeah, I know we had them.
Yeah,
Whether
'cause I
we
used to
still do.
borrow it from your office all the time.
Yeah, it was my company.
But
But we digress.
Indeed.
Yeah.
we've changed.
All
some.
right, so I guess we will, I guess I'll send out like a
Thursday.
special meeting agenda for Thursday. Anybody who's interested in walking the sidewalks, looking at the lights, looking at Swanson Park, if you're available, please join us. And I guess we can be adjourned.
Thanks. Thanks, Jenna. Thanks, Kira. 10:46 adjournment.
Optimistic news.
Yeah.
already in my-
Yeah, I'll be there next
Okay.
Thursday.
Right.
If you need any help navigating